Welcome back to this edition of the Dean's newsletter and video. It's always nice to come back to good news, and that's certainly what happened this January for us. To all of our professoriate, to the preceptors, and especially to our students, my heartfelt congratulations on achieving the #1 ranking on the MCC examinations. So these are the qualifying examinations that our students take out of medical school as their first major set of exams before moving on into the residency programs and additional training. We have over the years placed extremely well on this, but this is the first year where clearly our class has been above all the other schools across Canada in achieving this. So congratulations. This was a wonderful achievement, and it speaks highly not only of our program, but of all of you who are involved in teaching. I especially want to call out to Bertha Garcia and to Maggie Rebel and all of their people who have focused on this. This was not an easy achievement during a time when our lecture series and our training programs are changing. So well done. Thank you very, very much for that. Today I want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about strategic planning. Now you may wonder why, after all of the really fascinating things that we've talked about for the last couple of videos, we're going to talk about strategic planning today. It's a bit like watching paint dry on a wall, but it actually isn't. It is amongst the most important things that we as a faculty are going to do in the course of the next 6 to 9 months, and which will impact how this school will perform and what it will develop like over the course of the next 10 years. We've done this previously under Dean Carol Herbert's leadership. We've done it twice, the first time to really establish a blueprint for what the school will look like, and indeed generating a mission and vision statement, which is on our website and is a wonderful mission and vision statement which speaks clearly to our values as a school and as educators for that. It was repeated again some 5 years ago to look at where we were. Now we need to do it again. The goals that had been set out by Dean Herbert were obtained. We now need to look at what we're going to be like as a school as we move forward and how this next 10 years will develop on that. It's a little more important than that, though. We've made it really clear over the course of the last 6 months that we want to take this school to an entirely different level. We want to move it to being one of the top internationally ranked schools for issues looking at aging and health, looking at sustainability of healthcare, focusing on areas of tremendous strengths that we have within our faculty, and how do we relate those to the other strengths that we have here at the university for that. To do that really requires that you understand what the structure is like and how we begin to use that. Great organizations are built on the basis of having leadership, clear communications, a clear vision as to where we're going, a mission as to what we want to achieve throughout all of this, and all of that is built on the foundations of a strategic plan. The strategic plan can drill down as far as we want it to, but we won't go down to the coalface in the sense of saying, how are we going to teach? What are the things that we're going to be offer? But rather, what are the programs that we're going to focus on? What do we want the school to be identified with over the course of the next 10 years? And where do we need to strategically invest to make that possible? I've talked many times about the need for new facilities, and we're going to hear about it lots more over the course of the next several years as that becomes a reality. But we need to invest in new strategies, in new buildings, new facilities, new professoriate that actually speak to what we want to attain as a school. It is fairly structured. We have hired in Helena Axler and her group. She will be contacting many of you either as individuals or as part of focus groups to have discussions around the big issues of the day for us. We'll be talking to you about education directives, about education scholarship, about where our research should be heading, where you think we should be resourcing things in the future, and how you think we might bring things to a head that would allow us to strengthen the school further. She'll be looking at a lot of the documents that many of you have already been working on. So for instance, the document that talks about the development of our Center for Public Health Studies and our MPH program. That has a wealth of information into it as to where we see ourselves on the global health policy initiatives, how we will speak for healthcare in Canadian communities and begin to develop our research along those lines. For those who have been heavily working on the research task force, that white paper is due to be released in the very near future, probably within the next couple of weeks. And that will form a discussion document around which we will restructure how we support our researchers in this community. It doesn't matter whether it's education researchers or people working in the basic sciences or translational. All of it is treated equally, but we have to move it forward. How do we integrate that into a strategic plan? So you've been doing a lot of work already on it. This is just going to ramp it up one more notch as we start to develop an overall plan. For our students, you will certainly be part and parcel of this. Already, as we start to look at our global health an internationalization task force, developing a position paper there as to what our status will be when we think about moving on to the global platform. Students are heavily involved in that. We will be asking you as well to give up a little bit of your precious time, because we know that's exactly what it is, to participate in this process for it. To our colleagues in Windsor, we're going to land on your doorstep. Not only will you be heavily involved in the process as it moves forward, but we're coming to your neighborhood for 2 days in June to actually have our strategic planning retreat there. We've challenged you to a bit of a golf game beforehand, so let's see how that unfolds. But the reality is that we are going to focus at the end of this on 2 solid days of how do we build a plan that will take us forward for the next 10 years, and in some chances beyond that. It won't be a static document. That's the other piece that people need to understand about this, is that if you build a strategic plan, you have to constantly look at it in the environment in which you're existing. To simply write it down, leave it on the shelf, and come back to see if you can check off some boxes means that it's not a living document. So our intent is that we will use this and regularly come back to it, at minimum on an annual basis. But I think we should be looking at every one of our committees as we go forward in the future and asking the question, are we achieving goals that help us attain our strategic plan and where we want to see the school to be? So when you look at it in that light, it really is the single most important thing that we're going to do in the next short interval of time. It will have the greatest impact on our school and as we move forward to that. So once again, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Today we focused on why we're going to look so carefully at a strategic plan, what its value is, how we'd like to see all of you involved in that. And I look forward to that. It's going to be an exciting process. So again, thank you, take care, and I'll see you again in the near future.